Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that this is one of my favorite spots right here. This is the statue of an artist, Vladimir Vysotski, and I know that his wife is actually subscribed and watching my channel, the videos on my channel. So if she is, I just want to say hello to you. You told me once in the live chat that you are following me, which I am really grateful for. So behind me is this park that I have recorded many videos before, and there is a statue of Rachmaninoff, whose music I absolutely love. Guys, this video will be mainly about two topics. The first one is about an article I came across a while ago. However, I did not told you about it. I did not report on this. I think it's very valuable to read you a big part of this article because it presents the side of polls excuse me, that many of you keep asking me. How many Polish people believe in this narrative that Russia is planning to attack Poland? Will they participate in this? Will they go to fight? What they will do, how they will react? So I'm going to read you this article, big part of it, with some statements made by regular Polish citizens, men, who could be conscripted, who could be called to fight, and how they react to it. But I want to start with a topic that is currently the main topic in Poland, not just in Poland, in Europe, but in Poland, since I'm Polish. So I have, with all the respect to some of you who put in comments, I have a little bit more understanding, trying to be polite and respectful than some, knowing the dynamics. So let me tell you, actually, let me sit down here and tell you what's going on in Poland right now in this moment. And behind me you see some images. There's some exhibition here, which in Moscow you see a lot of places like this. I'm not sure what it is, maybe later we go there. But what's going on with the protest of Polish farmers? This is not just Polish farmers at this point. We have hunters, miners, beekeepers and carriers who have united with Polish farmers. This is huge at this point. The problem is, well, the problem could be, like I said in my last video on Thursday, the one I recorded during the evening time, they want to infiltrate this again and use the movement of Polish farmers against Poles, against Polish farmers. And there are some talks already that the government wants to implement the martial law, that our new/old Prime Minister Donald Tusk want to create a martial law in Poland because of the effect the protest has on the borders, especially with Ukraine. You know, when they create this martial law, which might be possible they will do, this will freeze everything, and they will bring police and they will bring military on the streets to control the situation. And if farmers, or those, not just farmers, but like I said, also hunters, miners, beekeepers, carriers, or civilians or other Polish citizens who are joining farmers in this protest, if they will overreact, if they will be triggered, they will pay the price for it. You know, I tell you, before I start with this article, I remember very, very well the martial law we had in Poland during Jaruzelski's time. I was very little girl. I remember still what was going on and how they were throwing the, I don't know how you say this professionally, the gas, crying gas inside the church buildings where people have gathered to pray during the mass. So people were praying. I remember we were in the church with my mother and father, and they were throwing this gas, tear gas, I think you say. And all of a sudden I felt my eyes are teary, I cannot see well, and what's going on, and my parents explained to me. I remember those times very well. We say in Polish zamordysm, which means they grab you, let's say, they hold your neck and you cannot make any move. So if anyone is watching me from Poland, please, I'm begging you guys, honestly, don't get triggered. Don't get into any provocations that they are trying to do, because they will. They will come up with all the ideas to make it worse and to stop you. So it's like Truckers in Canada movement 2.0, just the Polish version, maybe even more extreme. Because I think Canadians usually are very, very patient and they reach the tipping point in that time. So this is the Trudeau moment, like someone has commented. Please be aware of it. Now let me get to this article. It's only one article I have for you, but I found it important to read you because it presents the side that perhaps you don't know about, but is there. And it's more people who think like this than you would assume. The title of this article is "They Will Not Defend the Country Against Putin. Sorry, Poland." This article I came across about 2 weeks ago. I saved it actually. You will find the link to it down below, as always, in the description box. And you can read the entire article yourself. But I have picked up few statements from some Polish men. Is Poland threatened by war? Politicians and experts have recently been answering this question in a worrying tone. So we talked to Poles of military age about whether they would be ready to defend their homeland. Quote, "I would choose to run away." This is the answer. Says Dariusz, a psychology student, and he adds, he only cares about his loved ones and himself. And the homeland, the question, to him, they are strangers. He can make peace and prosperity with them, but not war. What does this mean? I will just give you my thoughts on this. He means they are strangers because, you know, a lot of Polish people look at the Polish government as only Polish-speaking government. Doesn't matter if it's Morawiecki, if it's, you know, Duda, if it's Tusk. They don't represent Poles. And even if you sometimes put in the comments, but you voted for him, I think by now we all are very aware how elections are run in any country, most of the countries, how they are rigged, how they are prepared in advance. They just choose the percentage of the sides. This is my opinion. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Let's continue. A December poll, IBRIS, this poll was done for Rzeczpospolita website, newspaper, Soros Money, shows that only 16% of Poles would join the army to defend the country against the Russian. Every third respondent, which is 37%, would simply evacuate. 12% would go abroad and 25% would go to a safe place in Poland. And you're wondering, is there going to be any safe place in Poland? I will comment on this after this article. What are my thoughts, my take on this situation? Which area of Poland will be the safest? Because the danger, if it goes on, will be there. However, there will be different levels of it. The percentage of Poles ready to fight has clearly decreased since February 2023, when it amounted to 57% of respondents. But at that time, 33% declared that they would not take up arms during the war. This survey was commissioned by the War Studies Academy. Now, next part of this article. Mobilization in Poland. Another Sisi is on the run. Alexander, who was ready to shoot the Russians at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, changed his mind quite quickly. Here are his words. First, I had lofty words in my head about patriotic duty and the heroic fight for the survival of the homeland. You know, I sucked that with my mother milk in Poland. Later, I talked a lot with my wife and therapists. Under the influence of these conversations, other words came to my mind. More mine. So here is the key point. Let me just interfere here a bit in this. Because again, if they put their own ideas in your mind and you don't have your own critical thinking and you don't talk to other people who present you different side of the story, you don't question. How blessed this man was that there were two people who presented different side of the story. So he continues that there is no common good in the world for which I would like to give my life. And no one can demand that from me. I don't want to downplay the role of the victims in Ukraine because maybe they believed in something else, which is actually honorable. He respects other people's opinions. That's fine. In any case, my death in the war would be completely senseless, says the 37-year-old photographer. So Alexander is 37 years old and he's a photographer. He adds that he once romanticized the death of defenders in war. He believed it led to freedom. If you asked me then, I would have answered that even if I had to die on the front, my body would bring our country closer to the end of the war. Now this is nonsense to me because I see what is happening in Ukraine. This is coming from a Polish person, guys. That's why I decided to read all of this to you. And I'm thinking, how many layers of dead bodies would have to cover the earth for there to be a truce, if I say this correctly, truce, peace during the war in Poland, right? Agreement during the war in Poland. After all, arms factories would be in full swing, other countries would pour billions of dollars into it, and the bodies would continue to pile up. And finally, after a few years, some people at the top say, okay, we have run out of money, we had enough. But I would probably be gone a long time ago, and it wouldn't have any significance for this war, he emphasized. He realizes how it will be read. So he is aware how many people, most people probably, I don't even know if most, but a big group of people, big part of people will react to it. People like him are described on the internet as egoist or another sissy who would run away at the sight of Russians. This is written by groups of guys who have their autopilot turn on in the quoting here, get pregnant, get kicked in the face and die in the war mode. It's an old mentality, he says. I'm not one of those idiots anymore. And what is your new mentality, the journalist asked before we continue. So here is my point. And being on YouTube for quite some time, I have to say one of the biggest blessings coming from YouTube, being on social media, on platforms like this, is as someone who is an empath and who is sensitive and who has feelings and cries when sees older people suffering, etc. Okay, I have grown a very thick skin, and I truly, at this point, guys, I tell you, 99.9%, I don't care what people think. I really don't, because I know if you care if they like you or they don't like you, they accept what you do or they don't, you will be slave to their opinions. So true freedom actually comes from us. We have to seek the answers to our questions, seek the truth, and when we find it, we have to stand with it. Unless we see different sides, we question it. But don't judge yourself by the opinion of others. Their opinion of you are just the opinions they have of their own that they are projecting on you. This is most of the time 99% the case. So let's continue. Journalist asks, what is your new mentality? So he liberated himself from the masses' opinions, and he says this: to live and not make a mess around you. I don't take others hostage to my immaturity, frustration or complexes. Bravo to you, man, I say. I just try to make them feel safe in relationships with me. I don't want to deepen the political muck, so I don't want to vote for the word I never use, brawlers, we say zadymiarze, which means he doesn't want to vote for those who create the smoke. I also try not to add much to the climate. Okay, so here we're talking about climate change, right? Actually, he directs this to the point. Climate change, another hoax story, but if we follow this, I also try not to add much to the climate, which means I attach importance to ecology. I know it's good for peacetime. But what interrupts it? Well, that old mentality that produces manure, shit, right? Anyone who tries not to contribute to it should have the right to run away from it when it gets out of control. Let those who made a mess clean it up, Alexander said. Now I have another person, very interesting take on, also straight to the point. Sorry, Poland, I don't own you a life, this person says. Let me rest my hand, guys. Dariusz, this is the name of this gentleman, agrees that during the war he would only be cannon fodder. But this does not encourage him to sign up for military training. I rather choose escape. I know that war is not a computer game. Okay. Like Scott Ritter says, the war is not a computer game. You have to kill in real life and be ready to die here. And sorry, Poland, I don't owe you my life. Sure, I'm educated here and I take advantage of everything this country gives me. So in peacetime I will pay it off in taxes and my skills. And in the wartime my education would not be important anyway. So I would leave. The psychology student says. His only relatives are his mother and his girlfriend. The former one has been living in the United States for several years, and this is where she will go if there is an event as far as war. The second one, he thinks, would fly with him, so mom would go with him. He only cares about them and himself, so he only cares about his mother and his girlfriend. And the homeland, the question from the journalist, for Dariusz, these are strangers. Again, the same answer, these are strangers, so he doesn't have any sense of connection, right, with the government. For Dariusz, these are strangers. He can make peace and prosperity with them, not war. Bravo. He once got into a discussion with some distant friends about possible military mobilization. They had fantasies of killing Russians and shooting at them like the defenders of Snake Island. Oh, that's another story, let's not go there. So here he says, Dariusz, I realized that in a sense they were waiting for the time when they could be heroes. They have a harder start in life than me because they didn't go to the university. So this is the demographic they are focusing on. I will give you my thoughts on this in a sec. But so they didn't get the same start, they didn't go to the university, but to work, which they are not satisfied with. One is a courier, the other works in a supermarket. No money, no self-fulfillment. Maybe they are aware that this is what their lives will look like. And war supposedly turns a grey man into a hero. We say in Polish, szary człowiek staje się bohaterem. I know my Russian viewers will understand this. It's naive, but that's how it looks in TV series and in some stories about Ukraine. I don't feel better than them because if Putin attacked Poland, they still might believe that Putin wants to attack Poland, which again we know that's not what he wants, but even if they believe in this, they still don't want to fight. I would be useless, and they would fight. Only this waiting for heroic times seems dangerous to me. When you wait for them, you cause them. Here is the main quote I really like. It's better to organize Poland in such a way that people can find fulfillment here, he says. Amen to that man, I say. And with this, guys, we will walk a little bit there. I tell you what, this article, actually, it's a small scale survey as far as, they're not going to talk to every man in military age in Poland what they think. But this gives you some hope. Because let me tell you what I believe is happening right now. Maybe you will see it the same way as I do. I know that God works in mysterious way. How I know? I can only say from my own life experience. I had many testimonies in my life how God works and creates miracles and changes and removes the people and all this stuff that people don't believe in, supernatural God power. But what if actually this entire farmers' protest and other people who are joining it, like beekeepers and miners, etc., they are preventing the escalation, and they are preventing at least for some time now, of the bigger conflict. I am almost certain that one of the plans they have is to take officially Polish troops, not just Polish, but also Lithuanians from Finland, other countries, and throw them into Ukraine, which will affect the east part of Poland. This is where is the border with Ukraine and Russia. So some Polish soldiers will probably receive the order to go, and they will go. Okay? I feel this is going to be this way. Unfortunately, I hope not, but this is my sense. That side of Poland will be like a war zone. The safest side is actually the side where I come from, which is northwest. So the one that is closer to Germany. But if there are more people like those two guys that I just read you stories about, their opinions from, I'm sure there are more. People will not be willing to participate in this war at all. They will rather go to prison, they will rather escape, and they will not go. The farmers are now not just delaying this, I think, they actually might be able to prevent the damage to a very large extent. But I want to emphasize, they want to use this, all those protests that are going strong, they are not going to give up. I'm telling you, they are going to Warsaw on the 27th of this month, February. They will create provocations. You know, Maidan story. You know how they do Maidans. That's what they're gonna do. So you have to be very, very diligent. You have to be very careful not to be triggered, not to get your emotions triggered, and to react calm, stable, and stand for your rights and stand for what you're fighting for, because you have so much support of people now. They can create fake stories, how you're blocking the roads, how you're preventing the ambulance to pass, all this BS. People don't give in to it. I support Polish farmers, I always say it again, all the way to the end. I support everyone who is affected by all those policies that EU is implementing, those who want us to eat bugs and be like bugs, because that's how they look at us. Monsters who look at angels like we are bugs. What a freaking joke it is. This is all I have for you, everyone, today. Behind me you see the statue of Rachmaninov. Let me step a little bit closer. What a fantastic music he was creating. And I want to leave you with this. The link to this article is down below the video in the description box. I really appreciate you guys for supporting my work. Thank you to everyone who is buying me coffee. I am immensely grateful. My Instagram, if you have Instagram, follow me there. I went yesterday to a very cool place. It's a gallery, Alexander Shilov, I think, if I say the name correctly, who made incredible portraits of not just famous people in Russia, but also the average Russian citizens, babushkas, you know, in the villages and all those kind of places, workers, farmers. So I put some images there also on my locals. Go and check it out. Join my mailing list just in case. Also, if you follow me on locals, that's another option, because you never know with this platform. And with this being said, lots of love. Let me just take off my glove to end this video. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. Please hit that like, it really helps the channel, and leave the comments down below. See you tomorrow. Bye everyone.